Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely, let's do it.
We're tackling a segment from a language learning podcast today. It's all about fluency, and it's full of really great tips, and especially if you're looking to improve quickly.
Yeah, they really break down the science behind it all, like how to make real progress.
Yeah. So first up, they talk about surrounding yourself with English as much as possible.
Which, you hear a lot, but they really explain like the why behind that.
Right, like why it actually works.
Yeah, like your brain's always kind of rewiring itself based on what you experience. So the
Mhm.
more English you're exposed to, it's like your brain starts to recognize the patterns, the rhythm, like all the little details. It's like building a mental muscle,
Yeah.
And that constant exposure is like your workout.
So it's not just about like passively listening to music or watching a movie. They talk about actively engaging with the language. They even mention this thing called shadowing. You've heard of that?
Oh, yeah, shadowing. It's where you basically trying to like copy a native speaker's pronunciation and intonation, like in real time.
Whoa, in real time.
Yeah, it's harder than it sounds.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's really good because it forces you to pay attention to all those little details, how they pronounce things, the rhythm, even the way words connect together. Like, it's like having a pronunciation coach right there with you.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. So they also recommend like finding ways to just kind of fit English into your daily life more, like simple things, changing your phone settings, listening to podcasts while you commute.
Yeah.
They've even say like talking to yourself in English.
Which, I actually do that sometimes. And it does help.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might feel weird at first, but it's all about rewiring your brain, right?
Right, exactly. And speaking of rewiring, they debunk this myth
Mm.
that a lot of people believe about fluency being all about like memorizing giant lists of vocabulary.
Yeah, like just cramming words into your head.
Yeah, which is so not true. It's more about learning how native speakers actually use the language.
Exactly. They talk about mastering common phrases and idioms, the kind of things that just naturally come up in conversation.
And that's what makes your English sound effortless, right?
Totally. Like, they connect this to a concept called chunking, where your brain groups information together. Instead of memorizing every single word, you learn these chunks of language, these phrases.
Okay, so like learning a song, you don't think about every single note, you learn the melody.
Exactly. And phrases are like those melodies. They're like the building blocks of fluent speech.
I love how they use examples too. Like they compare saying I'm starving to just saying hungry. It's such a small thing, but it makes a big difference.
Huge difference. And they encourage people to really pay attention to those phrases. Like when you're watching a movie or listening to a podcast, write down the phrases that sound natural and then try using them yourself.
Ooh, that's a good tip. So do they have any advice for like actually putting this into practice?
Yeah, they actually suggest finding a language partner or joining some kind of online community where you can actually use those phrases in conversations.
Oh, yeah, because you got to use it or you lose it, right?
Exactly. And that actually leads into their next big point, which is the importance of speaking every single day.
Okay, so what if you don't have someone to talk to every day?
Well, they have some creative solutions for that too.
Okay, like what?
Like, get ready for this.
Mhm.
Talking to yourself.
Talking to yourself, huh?
Yep. They say just describe your day, your thoughts, anything. It might feel silly, but it gets you comfortable just making sounds in English.
It's like thinking out loud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the best part is you can do it anywhere, anytime. No need to find a partner, you're always there. They also mention writing, which I think is really underrated for language learning.
Oh, yeah, like journaling or something.
Exactly. Even just writing a little bit every day, it really makes you slow down and think about the structure, the grammar.
You're really putting those words together in a different way than when you speak, I guess.
Totally. And it's low pressure, you can take your time. They even suggest trying different kinds of writing, like stories, poems, even social media posts.
Even interesting.
Right. So this next tip might sound a little strange at first.
Okay, hit me.
They say to try and stop translating everything in your head.
Oh, interesting. Because, like, it's so tempting to do that, right? Like, find the word in your own language that matches.
It is, but they argue that it can actually slow you down
Huh, how so?
because you're basically interrupting your flow of thought, right?
Well,
Instead of thinking directly in English, you're adding this extra step.
it's like a mental detour.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes it harder to just speak naturally.
They had this funny story about trying to say the word fridge in English, but they just blanked.
Oh, yeah, I remember
They
that.
ended up, like, describing it. The thing where we keep food cold.
It's so relatable, though. We've all been there.
Yeah, for sure.
So their advice is to try to actually think in English as much as you can, even for like simple everyday things. Like, I need coffee or where's my phone?
Yep, those little moments add up.
Train your brain. So how do you like actually start doing that?
Well, they suggest a couple things. One is to label things around your house.
With the English words, you mean?
Yeah. It sounds basic, but it really helps. Like you're constantly seeing those words and connecting them to the object.
I can see how that would help.
Another thing is to just try to narrate your day in your head.
Like talking to yourself again.
Exactly. But instead of just random thoughts, you're describing what you're doing.
Like a play-by-play in English.
I like that. Okay, so speaking of natural English, their last big piece of advice is all about listening to and imitating native speakers.
Which is kind of what we do on this podcast, right?
Exactly.
Well,
It's all about immersing yourself in the real deal. So find podcasts, movies, TV shows, anything you enjoy, and really listen to how they use the language.
so don't just have it on in the background.
Right. Engage with it. Try that shadowing technique we were talking about earlier.
Really try to sound like them. Yeah, it trains your ear and helps you pick up on those subtle things.
They mentioned paying attention to specific things too, like how speakers connect words or how their tone changes.
Yes, those little nuances make a huge difference. They even suggest recording yourself and then comparing it to a native speaker.
See where you can tweak things.
Exactly. Okay, so to wrap up all this amazing advice, they introduced this 7-day fluency challenge.
Sounds intense. What's
Yeah.
involved?
So it's basically a plan to jumpstart your learning. You speak for at least 10 minutes every day, learn a few new phrases, listen to a podcast, and write something short in English.
And they say you'll see a difference in just a week.
That's the claim. But they also make a really important point, which is that fluency isn't like a finish line you cross.
It's a journey, like you were saying earlier.
Right. It's about enjoying the process and just constantly striving to improve.
So what about if you want to go beyond general fluency? Like what if you need English for a specific purpose?
Ooh, that's a great question. They actually touch on that a bit, but we can definitely dive in a little deeper.
So like if you're getting ready for a big presentation at a conference or something.
Right. Like just practicing general conversation might not cut it.
Yeah, you'd need like specialized vocabulary, I guess.
Exactly. It's kind of like training for a specific sport. You know, a marathon runner doesn't train the same way as a sprinter. So if you need English for a specific purpose, like business or academic writing, you got to tailor your approach.
So instead of just watching any old movie, maybe you pick one that's set in like a corporate office.
Yeah. Pay attention to how they talk in meetings, presentations, all that. Or say you're planning a trip abroad, you could focus on phrases for travel, booking a hotel, asking for directions.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like focus on what you actually need.
Right. And there are tons of resources for that. You know, specialized dictionaries, online forums, even podcasts for certain professions.
Ooh, now you're talking.
Well, I always love a good analogy. It's like having a personal trainer for your English.
Oh, I like that.
They can help you figure out your weak spots, set goals, and give you like custom exercises.
So you can really level up.
Exactly. It's all about finding the right tools to unlock your potential. So if you're feeling inspired to really take your English to the next level,
Don't forget, fluency isn't a one-size-fits-all thing.
it's a journey and you get to choose your own adventure, right?
Absolutely. Whether you want to travel the world, land your dream job, or just connect with people from different cultures.
Let your passions be your guide.
That's so true. And remember, consistent effort and a little curiosity go a long way.
You might even surprise yourself with what you can achieve.
So keep exploring, keep practicing, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Exactly.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive. Until then, happy language learning, everyone.